We can't touch it. We can feel it. Get ready for an unforgettable experience. Are you ready? Five, four, three, two, one.
Thanks for joining us.
Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Satya TV Sowing Seeds of Greatness podcast, where life transformation begins. The only podcast helping you integrate your body, mind, and spirit/soul. Providing you with the holistic health tools to transform your life from the inside out for total wellness. If parts are missing, you are broken. And now your host, Satya TV.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Satya TV podcast. And today what we're going to be talking about is holistic health and defining it. But before we give the complete definition of holistic health, we have to better understand what we are as human beings. And the word triune being means simply this, consisting of three things: body, mind, and spirit, soul as one. As we say in our introduction, if parts are missing, you are broken. So basically, all of those things that we consist of, which are body, mind, and spirit, soul, should be unified. And unified means, like we said, no parts missing. So to have an understanding of what holistic health is, we have to understand that first. But the definition of holistic health is simply this: a relative state in which one is able to function well physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually in order to express the full range of one's unique potential within the environment in which it is living. So let's talk a little bit more about each component. Now, as you know, quantum physics tells us that everything is energy. So what we put into our bodies, food, is actually energy. And each calorie that we eat in our food is a measure of energy. And the quality of that food is going to impact us within our bodies. And then kinetic movement, meaning exercise, physical activity, is energy as well. So putting those two things together, those also affect the body. But some people don't realize that the mind, your thoughts, which are tied into your emotions, are energy as well. So if any of those things can be off balance, you can actually have sickness in your body, fatigue, depression, and also soreness, insomnia, and other illnesses which affect how you live, your quality of life, and also it affects your thinking. So you want to make sure everything that's in your thoughts and your mind, your body, and your spirit all are integrated. So this is where it really gets deep. Contrary to most people's understanding, your soul can even be sick. There's why there's such a thing as soul healing, and it all has to do with energy. But what we're going to discuss mostly today is the hyperactive mind and how those negative thoughts, which are emotion tied to your emotions, as we said, and our energy as well. The hyperactive mind can be identified with one who overthinks from the lack of awareness, identifies with every thought in their head, the inability to acquire mental stillness. And some of the problems that can arise by that is these irrational thoughts. These irrational thoughts from the hyperactive mind can actually lead to things such as troubled and abusive relationships, self-abasement, panic attacks, depression, as we mentioned earlier, health problems, career failure, fear of failure, are actually, to me, there's one and the same. Fear of failure is in essence the invert of fear of success. Financial problems and also a lack of identity, identifying with every negative thought. It can cause destructive interpersonal relationships, and it is actually a destructive interpersonal relationship, which is the relationship with self. So let's talk a little bit about intrapersonal relationship as opposed to interpersonal relationship, which is the relationship with other persons, including co-workers, family, friends, loved ones. Let's start with the intrapersonal relationship, which is the foundation, or I should say more building block, to have successful relationships with friend, family, spouse, teacher, and others. When we have a sense of low self-esteem or low self-worth, what happens is it's that relationship with self that is self-abasing, as I mentioned earlier, and self-loathing. And if you listen to one of the earlier podcasts in regards to the ego, that's the definition of what the ego is. Feelings of low self-worth or undeserving. It's actually a nightmare of self-hatred. And some of these issues can actually cause even low self-worth, which manifests itself out onto other people in forms of abuse and jealousies when those overwhelming feelings of low self-esteem can't be tolerated. One of my definitions that I explained to one of my clients that was having issues with a co-worker who they said was jealous. Jealousy is nothing more than self-hatred manifested outwardly onto someone else when the person can't stand the pain of the low self-esteem anymore. I've worked with a lot of clients on this to bring them back to true self-discovery, to prevent either being on the receiving end of self-hatred or manifesting out toward another person, which either way is the foundation of an abusive, dysfunctional relationship. So that's one of the problems that a hyperactive mind can actually cause. The other thing is a lack of sleep, depression, and as I said earlier, sickness in the body. So I can talk all day long on the exact amount of calories to have per day to either lose weight, gain weight, or maintain weight, how much physical activity one should have based on whatever the goal it is, to either build muscle, lean out, get ready for a competition. But the most important thing in holistic health is starting from the inside out. Because I've had a lot of clients that were very successful in their finances, in what most would think in their relationship, in their career, but they were miserable on the inside because they hadn't addressed the inner part. They had a lot of soul healing to work on and negative thoughts and negative emotions. That was an off balance of their energy and their thought. And it can, as we mentioned earlier, affect you negatively with things such as conditions, heart problems, diabetes. So it's not just and mental illness. That's very important to discuss here. So one of the things we like to do in holistic health is bring everything into alignment. Alignment meaning healthy mind, again, healthy body, and healthy spirit, soul. The word tribune earlier means body, mind, and spirit unity. That is why I said that understanding the distinction will provide the education, which will then provide the awareness that can bring forth acknowledgement, which is the catalyst to change and to become healthy and whole, body, mind, and soul. Because without the growth and the understanding, the education and the healing of all these things, it's very difficult to get into a satisfying and healthy relationship until you have become more whole. You'll be involved in codependent relationships, unhealthy job situations, unhealthy career choices, all due to an unhealthy, interdependent relationship of the body, mind, and soul, as opposed to codependent relationships. So what does a codependent relationship look like, and the negative effects that it can have in your life? Well, the root of all codependent relationships is abuse. And what a codependent relationship looks like is a person looking for someone else to give them value, looking for someone else to give them a feeling of self-worth, looking for someone to fill a void on the inside. And it manifests itself in what I call ego attachment disorders. I'll tell you a story about one of my favorite clients, no name mentioned, of course, for anonymity purposes. I had, while working for the Department of Defense and doing coaching as well as the fitness and nutrition aboard the ships, I would conduct personal development. One of my, I would say, most progressed client, whom I'm very proud of, and his honesty with himself. He came into my office needing to pass his PRT, and he was of good age and good physical fitness. And I kept thinking to myself, how is it that you can't run a half a mile and you're going to lose your retirement? Because one of the rules on the base was that if a person didn't pass 3 times, it was called the strike 3 rule, no matter how much time they had vested, they would lose their benefits. So when he came into my office, it was a highly decorated officer. I knew he looked, and I knew he was fit enough to actually complete his physical fitness readiness test. He came into my office, and I looked at him and I said, so tell me what's going on here. You have all the criteria to pass. This is very easy. There's no reason that you can't pass this test and that you're going to lose everything. Well, he looked at me and said, well, if I pass, my wife is going to leave me. I realized as a master coach that this was a personal development problem. I just looked at him and I said, well, so what is it about yourself that you don't feel good enough for your wife for? 2 seconds later, tears came streaming down his face, down dripping past all the bars across his chest. And I said, shut my door. Let's start with the personal development. We got into a lot of deep frozen emotion and issues where the ego had manifested itself with the hyperactive mind. So we did a lot of mental reconditioning. Long story short, he passed his PRT and his relationship as well. So these are some of the things that we work with, but it always has to start in holistic health from the inside out. Is one of the reasons I redid the business model, because it always comes back to this. And if you have one part missing and you get it out of order, everything is about balance and order. It's how the body system works. And when you get it out of order, it has the same negative effects as unhealthy and parts missing. So parts missing is broken and parts out of order can't be fixed. It's a mathematical problem like order of operations. So that definition of holistic health is the basics. We'll talk more of holistic health on future podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a nice day, and namaste.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. Keep listening to our weekly episodes to find out more.
Tweet us now